Hope is not at all about ignoring whatever your current reality is, but it's about believing in something bigger than you could even see right now. And so maybe today you find yourself starting to feel hopeless inside your heart, where you look at maybe your finances, or you look at a relationship or your career, wherever you're at in life, maybe even relationally, you are starting to feel a sense of hopelessness. Well, I want to reassure you, you've landed on the right video today, because today I'm going to introduce you to my friend Terry Gurno, who shares his ministry that provides hope. It's called Unyielding Hope. So I'm glad that you're here. You clicked on the right video, and here is my friend Terry Gurno. Welcome back, and share with us. Let's define right up front, what is unyielding hope?
Yeah, well, thank you. So, unyielding hope, well, it's more than just a wishful thinking, right? It's more than that. I have found that it's deeply rooted. In fact, I have a definition for it here, and I'll read it. Unyielding hope is the unwavering belief that no matter what, the adversity, grief, trauma, crisis, setback, or loss, there's always a path forward. It's not blind optimism, but it's grounded, realistic, and a motivating force that gives people strength for today, courage for tomorrow, and faith for the future. It empowers people to rise, rebuild, re engage with life clearer, stronger, and more focused on what matters most and what's possible. That's the
Man, so
definition that we came
powerful.
up with it.
That's
Yeah.
so good.
So
So
that's what it is. That's what it is.
share with us some of the backstory.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. The backstory is, of course, I've been on your show before. I don't know how much I've shared, but, going back to when I was a little boy, I was raised in a very dysfunctional, abusive, alcoholic home. My dad abandoned us when he was 10, when I was 10, not him. And my mom raised 5 kids as a waitress, working 7 days a week, 2 double shifts every day. And so it was challenging. While my dad was in our home, our house was very, it wasn't safe. We were afraid. It wasn't a good place. And I realized that I didn't realize it then, but I realized from an early age that the way that I got through that was believing something was better, that there was going to be something better ahead of us. And I didn't know what that meant. But for me, during that time, it was getting out and doing something, being with friends, doing something I enjoyed, doing something productive, even if it was just cleaning the house. I felt good about that. And so I carried that on through, high school, where I was, I really was functionally illiterate. You didn't really read or write beyond a 6th grade level because I had some learning disabilities. And I was told in school that, not to go to college, that, some people are smart, some people aren't. You're not. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It just is. But be thinking about something you could do for a career that doesn't necessarily involve college or education. That's basically what they were telling me. And they said, there's nothing wrong with that. Just, the challenge I had with that is I didn't feel like that was me. I felt like I was a people person and I wanted to be with people. And so, fast forward, I remember after I was married, my wife, she had some challenges in her health. She had an ovarian cyst the size of a tetherball that she had to have removed 4 months before we were married. And then 4 months after we were married, and she had her ovary removed. 4 months after we were married, she had another one the size of like a softball on her other ovary. And the doctor took everything but a quarter of her ovary. And the reason he did that is so there might be a chance that somehow we might be able to have children. He said it was a slight chance, but that's why he did that. But I remember telling my wife as she was crying one day, thinking I'll never know what it's like to be pregnant, and just having this deep belief, and I don't know where it came from. I'm sure it was from the Lord, that, you know what, honey, we will have a baby when it's time for us to have a baby. I absolutely believe that. And sure enough, it was just a few years later that we were pregnant. So this unyielding, this belief that something's going to be better. And it wasn't just this, just a feeling, but it was just belief, number one, in our belief in God, having a strong faith. And so then moving through most recently, my heart challenges. I had a quintuple bypass. I had several life-threatening setbacks after that. And then as soon as I got done with that, I had cancer, was diagnosed with cancer, went through a colon resection, I went through chemo. And then not quite a year later, it came back, more aggressive, spread all over. I had this huge surgery back in October of 2024, where they did what's called a HIPEC. It's a newer surgery, but they cut you open and they open you up and they remove all of the cancer they can find, because my cancer had spread to the peritoneum, which is the lining of your abdomen, the whole area, and so it spread all over. And they remove it, and then they do hot chemo to kill anything that could be there after they remove it. And so I had that surgery. It was a very brutal surgery, but it extended my life. It saved my life at the moment. When I came out, they told my wife that I didn't have much time. There was much more cancer than they thought. So they extended it. My surgeon said that she feels like she added 3 to 4 more years to my life, which I'm grateful for. But in all of this, I have just had this focus on what I still have, what I can do, and what's possible, and the goals I have set for myself. And that has allowed me, I think, to rise above what I'm currently going through and continue to live out my mission, continue to make a difference in the lives of people. And this really became evident when an article came out, a magazine. They wanted to do an article on me called Wellness Magazine. And I told them, I said, well, do you know what's going on with me? Because I don't think I should be on the cover of your magazine. And I told them, and they said, no, we still want you to. Well, they interviewed me starting from the time I was a boy up until, recent. And when the article came out, it said, Terry Gurno, a story of unyielding hope. And that is when it resonated with me. That's when I realized I had this theme of unyielding hope my entire life. And I could have never put that together. It took this person to bring it out. And so I resonated with that, and I just sat on that. But as I've gone through this and I've been posting about my journey, on Facebook and on social media, I've had people from really all over the country reach out to me, thanking me, saying, hey, has inspired me. This has given me hope for what I'm going through. When people are diagnosed with something, they'll reach out to me, say, can we talk? Can we meet with you? I'm afraid. I don't know what to expect. And so my wife and I have been meeting with people in our homes, or in some case, we've met them at a restaurant, just to meet them at this point of really despair, this bad news, this like what's ahead. And so in helping them, again, focus on, hey, what's possible? We have today, we have tomorrow, we have next week. What can we do? What do we want to do? Let's do that, and that's what this is.
Some great questions to ask. Man, you're a man that's defying the odds.
Well,
wow. Miracle man.
Thank the Lord, man. I just feel God's grace 100%. And healing, on my life big time. But, I tell people, Chris, all the time, I know what I have. I know what I have to do daily and what I have to do on a regular basis with chemo and all that kind of stuff. I acknowledge that, but I don't focus on it. I focus on, again, what do I want? How do I want to live my life? What are the memories that I want to make? What's the legacy that I want to leave? That's what I'm working on. That's what I'm very passionate about. And Unyielding Hope is part of that legacy.
I remember it was a year or two ago, I found out that my mom has a certain type of cancer. And I remember calling and have a conversation with you, looking to get some insight from you on, what can I do to love her well in this season and support her and encourage her. And I remember you recommended a book, and I bought myself a copy, a little green book, and I bought her a copy and sent it to her. She's up in Seattle, Washington. I'm in Kansas City area. And so this is an area that I know for sure that, number one, I have some firsthand experience with you. And it's incredible, Terry, because you and I, our paths crossed in the business world with a company called Maps Business Coaching in a little town called Ogden, Utah, several years ago. And it's amazing just to hear, and I know you were just touching some of the highlight reel of some of the challenges you've had. And yet I know you as a a successful CEO, an author, getting ready to be, you're writing another book from what I understand,
Mhm. Yeah.
a business leader, a coach, an incredible husband and father. And how you're an inspiring guy. And so
Oh,
I'm excited about the trajectory and the level of focus that you have in the season, man. Tell us about Unyielding Hope, the ministry,
yeah.
and because I know that's important to you, and you're building some team and an organization around this. So elaborate a little bit more and fill us in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so
Sure.
Unyielding Hope, this is a ministry, a nonprofit that we're going to be launching to reach people, but not just people that are going through challenges. And it's myself, it's another friend of mine that had a heart transplant. He was in the hospital for 200 days, 168 before he had his transplant, 14 days after, and then he was finally released 200 days. When he went in the hospital, um, they told him, "You're not coming out until you have a heart." And that's how long it took. And I remember visiting him and praying with him and just seeing what he went through and how hope played a part in sustaining him because his heart was failing. I remember being in the hospital one day when the doctor came in and was talking to him and said, "Dan, this is not headed in a good direction. And we've
Mm.
got to pray and hope for something soon." But just seeing what Dan went through and the hope, what the hope played a role in getting him through that. And again, it was honest. He was very honest about how he was doing. He was struggling. He didn't know if it would ever happen, but he continued to have this hope inside of him. And then I have another friend, Dave Miller. Dave, 17 years ago, had a traumatic brain injury, cracked his skull in 22 places, shouldn't
Mm.
have lived. The doctors have never seen anybody with a brain injury that severe live, but he did. He was in a coma. He came out of the coma. He came out of the hospital. He went into rehab. He had to learn how to write, dress, eat, talk, everything all over again. And this is a guy that when he got out, the doctor said, "Whatever you do, don't be around loud noises or bright lights." Well, the first thing he wanted to do was go stand at the finish line of Ironman. And you know what that finish line is like. It's bright lights, it's loud
Right.
music, it's lots of people. And but he went. He could barely stand up. We were standing up in the stands, and he was holding on to me. He was very wobbly, but he looked at me and said, "Terry, I want to be an Ironman." And 4 years later, crossed the Ironman
Wow.
finish line 4 years
Man,
later.
that gave me
So again,
goosebumps.
this is a
Woo.
guy that has tremendous hope, and coming out of his situation came a message that every day is a gift, and every moment is a gift, and every breath is a gift, because he realized that your life can change in a moment. He realized when he was in the hospital, when he had a trach, he wasn't breathing on his own. He had a machine, and every once in a while they'd have to clear out his lungs. And when they did that, he couldn't breathe. And he knew in that moment that his life was literally in somebody else's hand. And that's when the thought came to him: every breath that we take for granted is a gift. And he realized that in that moment. So he came out with this tremendous message, and he's one of the most positive, hopeful guys I know. So it's us three that are launching this, but it's not just for people that have suffered, illnesses or traumatic injuries. One of the things I have found in business coaching, and you probably have too, Chris, is that when I sit down with someone and I do the first meeting with them, it's not uncommon for them to say, "I feel like I have hope." After spending,
Yeah.
30 minutes to an hour, I feel like I have hope. And whenever I've heard that in the past, I feel like, you know what? I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose and my mission in life to bring hope to people. And so we realize, whether it's your business, whether it's your personal life, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your finances, whether it's your health, people need hope at every aspect. And we want to be able to bring a message through speaking at events, through industry conferences, groups, organizations. We want to be able to bring a message of hope that uses our story as a catalyst to inspire hope in other people. And one of the things that we say, and I say this, Chris, is hope is the beginning, it's not the end. By no means are we coming in and saying, "Listen to us and everything will be fixed." No.
Yeah.
We're hoping that we can deliver a message of hope that they latch onto and believe that they have hope and they can face their circumstances and they can create a strategy for their life, for their business, for their finances, for their marriage, for their health that will allow them to move forward
Yeah.
and with purpose and with passion, um, whatever it is, not to give up, and that hope is a powerful motivator and it's a sustainer. It'll sustain them when things get tough and when there are setbacks, because there will be, no matter what plan, no matter what strategy, there's going to be setbacks. But this hope, this is what I found personally. I know this personally. I've walked this, I've lived it. Chris, I know
Mhm.
I'm talking a lot. I hope I'm not boring your listeners,
No, I
but
love this, Terry. This is so good.
I believe, and I'll just share this with you. I believe that no matter what area of life, we're all going to have to face challenges and setbacks, and we're going to get news that we didn't want. None of us want it. It's not in our goal sheet. Things are going to happen that we didn't expect or plan for, anticipate. And we have to make a decision in an instant how we're going to face that. So when I came out of my surgery, I couldn't even open my eyes. And my doctor, my surgeon said, Terry, I want you to know that right now you're cancer free, but it is going to come back. And
Mm.
in a second, I just remember, I couldn't even open my eyes, but I thought that I'm going to live the best life I can for as long as I can. I made that decision. No regrets, not I'm sorry for myself, not why me, none of that. And then she said, and we had to give you a colostomy, which you'll have for the rest of your life. And I remember, number one, my first thought was gratitude. Lord, thank you that I was able to live 64 years without this. And I was able to be married for 40 years without this. And now, moving forward, I'm going to learn how to live with this and have the best quality life I possibly can for as long as
Mm.
I can. And we have to make decisions like that in a second. This is what hope gives you the strength to do.
Man, wow. What would you say to somebody that's out there right now that just feels like they're in a low point and they're running low, or maybe they
Yeah.
just feel completely without hope? What advice would you
Yeah.
have for them?
Yeah, and that's not uncommon. Most people have greater clarity on what they don't have or what they don't want than what they do
Mhm.
have and what they do want. And so
Right.
right now it is consuming. I remember when I was told, Terry, you have cancer, stage 3B cancer, immediately I started playing out the rest of my life. I started, what do I have to do to make sure Nancy's okay and all that kind of stuff. And it literally 15 minutes later, I said to myself, Terry, snap out of it. You're not dying tomorrow. You've got time. But I had to like mentally make that adjustment. And what I would say to people is, first of all, I would allow them to share with me how they're feeling and how they're doing, because I don't want to take that away from them, because that's real,
Mhm.
right? You have to move through that. But then I would say, from this day into your last, if they got bad news from this day or from this day moving forward, what do you want to do? How do you want to live? If you had a goal for yourself or several goals, what are they? And get them focusing on what's possible,
Mm.
because that's where the hope and that's where the energy comes from and the motivation, because there is something for everybody. And sometimes you have to spend time with them and you have to ask that question in different ways and you have to go deeper. They
Mhm.
might say, well, Terry, I just can't see that there's any hope, that there's anything I can do. And say, well, you may feel like that, but I personally know that's not true. What do you want? And keep them. What do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want to focus on? And whatever that is, when I went in for my big surgery, I wrote a letter to every one of my kids, Chris, because I didn't know if I was going to come out or not. I didn't, and I wrote a letter. And so it could be as easy as, what do you want to say, and to who?
Mm.
Is there a letter that you can write? Is there a coffee appointment? Is it, whatever it is, something simple. Are there goals that you want to accomplish? Are there things you want to experience? Just get them on that track.
That's good. Anything else when it comes to advice for somebody going through it right now?
Yeah. That is my advice. Right now,
That's solid.
Chris, I can show you. I've got 31 people that we're praying for on a regular basis that are dealing with cancer that
Wow.
we know personally. 31
Wow.
people. They're in the middle of it, and these are the things that we talk
Man.
about. We talk about, hey, what's possible? What can you do? What do you want to say? What don't you want to
Mhm.
leave done, not in a morbid way, like you're wrapping up your life, but it's like, hey, as long as we have life, let's live. Let's live.
Intentionally, yeah, on
Let's
purpose.
live intentionally. Let's
Yeah,
celebrate. Let's do the things we want to do. And so my kids have surrounded me, and we're just, it's like we're making memories all the time. It's like anything and everything that we can get together for, that we can do. I went to with all my kids, we're all University of Washington Husky fans. And
yeah,
so I went with all my kids to the Ohio State game. That was a memory that we made together, all of us,
nice.
and that was a big deal. But still planning to do these things. Uh, none of us know how long we're going to be here. This is a way we
Sure.
should be living anyways.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Yeah, good call on that, Terry. I had a little, 40, I'll be 42 here in a few months. And I was having some just unusual pain on my left-hand side. And I went to my doctor and he said everything looks good, but he wanted to have an ultrasound done on me.
Mm,
And it's the first time other than having my appendix taken out, 2 decades ago or whenever that was. And I had this weekend where I went in on a Thursday and I remember just my mind over the weekend I was what ifing.
yeah,
I was thinking like, man, one phone call next week could change my like the story changes.
yeah,
And so for me, there even just the what you said that resonates with me is really just how fragile life is
mhm,
for all of us all the time.
yeah,
And yet I think that sometimes when we're waiting for a report or when we feel the uncertainty of a diagnosis or something that we can't control happens, it's a wake up. It could be a wake up call. That's what it was for me.
yeah,
It really caused me to lean in and get a little bit more serious, in particular when it came to my health and taking care of myself. So it got my attention, that's for sure. Thankfully, everything came back and no issues found, and I made some changes such as cutting out coffee
oh
and
boy,
with cream in it. And yet, made a few dietary changes and haven't had any issues, thankfully.
yeah,
Um, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about the God of hope.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm
Are you
thinking
talking
about
about
that as you share.
Romans 15:13? May the God of
Yeah,
hope
there you
fill you
go.
with all joy and
Oh,
peace as you trust
that's
in
good,
Him, so you may be filled with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. That's our
oof,
man. That's our verse.
man. For your
That
organization, that's
That's our verse for our organization. Be the
okay.
God of hope. And see, ultimately, we know our hope is in Jesus. We're going
Yeah,
to meet people that may be far from God. Maybe they don't even believe in God, right? But I believe that things like this bring mortality and put it right in your face. And you begin to think in ways that maybe you haven't thought before. And it
yeah,
opens people up. I believe that God is the God of hope. That's who we get our hope from,
mhm,
right? Ultimately, I believe that this life is not the end. I believe that there is an eternity to spend, and that we can spend it in the presence of God. And so that's it's interesting. I was in the hospital recently. You know, I went in with some severe abdominal pain, which is never a
mm,
good sign when you have colon cancer, especially everything
mhm,
I've been through. And I went in and they found that my gallbladder was infected. And because of the surgery I had a year ago, they can't take it out. It's too risky, um,
oh,
because of the hot chemo that they used inside of me. And so they had to put a drain in me. They had to drain it from the outside. Like, so I've got this drain, like as I'm talking to you, I have a drain sticking in my side, and I have a drain bag that runs down my leg under my pants. Nobody can see it. But not to be too graphic, but I mean,
mm,
this is reality. This is what I live with. This is what other people live with. I mean, they have stuff that they're carrying with them physically, not just mentally. And so, but during that time, you know, I had, I had these thoughts. Is this the beginning of my body shutting down? It's just, I mean, I did. And, I have friends that had similar things happen to them and they never came out of the hospital.
mhm,
And, when you're traveling a similar road, I mean, that hits hard. But, it's
mhm,
interesting. Even when they were diagnosing me and saying, hey, it could be this, and several things would have been very severe. Um, I had total peace. I was not I was not panicked. I was not worried. I was not mad. I was not upset. I just had total peace because I know that this is not the end. And we all have a day that we're gonna leave this life and move on to the next.
Mm.
All of us. But to be able to have peace in those circumstances, for me, man, you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. So tell us about a little bit more about your organization and who might be interested.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so basically, what we want to do is be able to bring, like I said, a message of hope, through keynote addresses, through small groups, and different things like that. Realizing that
Mhm.
hope is the beginning, right? But then we want to use the training and experience that we have and the education we have through coaching one-on-one, through coaching groups, through workshops to give people tools, knowledge, tools, skills, resources. To be able to get them on the road to where they need to go, to get them living, to get them with more purpose. We know that, for instance, right now I'm coaching one person who lives in another state, but the reason why I'm coaching him is because he's in his 40s, but he feels like he has no direction, doesn't have a clear purpose. He's not happy. Feels like his day is just fleeting by, and it's affecting his family, and he really wants direction for his life. He wants to be able to get up excited about the day, knowing what his life is about, and give himself to that. And of course, you've written a book on that, right? And so you know how important that is. So helping somebody helping somebody walk through that process, so they go, okay, I am clear on why I'm here. I have direction
Yeah.
on where I'm going, and I know what I'm doing with the rest of my life. So that's the process that I'm with this guy, and that's through one-on-one coaching. But like I
Yeah.
said, group, we also are going to establish what we call hope groups. So hope groups are similar to home groups, but it's specifically designed, and we have different themes that we talk about over the course of 8 weeks. To bring hope practically into their life. And it gets people talking, it gets everybody engaged, and it's designed to be a safe, very supportive, very encouraging, and equipping time. So they go through these hope groups, and again, it's not the end all; it's the beginning. It gets them
Yeah.
moving in that direction.
Okay, so you're going to be having keynote speeches or public speaking engagements going on within organizations. Then you're going to have the small group aspect going on.
Mhm.
Right. Very good. And
Yeah.
I love what you were sharing about with the gentleman in his 40s that you're coaching. I was smiling as you was sharing about that because I was reminded of a phone call where after my dad passed away and I was approaching 40 a few years ago. And it's just like these things just happen. And I needed what I refer to as the next level of clarity, meaning that I had a certain level of clarity, but with my dad passing away, my grandma, who was like a mom to me, and approaching 40 years old for the first time ever, man, I just needed the next level of clarity. And I'll never forget, I jumped on a phone call with you. I text you, you said that you'd be glad to talk to me. I pulled into a Starbucks parking lot and you asked me some powerful questions that really made me dig deep. I didn't have answers right away. I had to take notes and go back and think about it. But you coached me over the phone and you helped me discover what's in my heart, which led to my book, The Path to Purpose, because I figured out after you gave me some questions to ponder on that I really believe my purpose of looking back over my life and what's important to me, where I could look and see the evidence. Man, I'm all about encouraging, inspiring, and time to time challenging people to pursue and discover their life's purpose. Because
Yeah.
there's something about once we're dialed in, where we have that inward clarity and conviction, especially I know I'm sure women need that as well, and yet I'm not a woman, so I'm not. For me, for us guys, I think it's mission critical.
Yeah.
At least for me. So I what you shared with helping that gentleman, your coaching client, sounds very familiar. I guess is my
Yeah.
point, Terry.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then you
yeah,
have a book coming out, right?
yeah, yeah. I have a
Okay.
book coming out. Um, I'm halfway through writing it, and it's basically called Unyielding Hope: How to Find Strength for Today, Courage for Tomorrow, and Faith for the Future. And it'll use my journey, and
Mhm.
it'll illustrate several points in there along my journey. And then it has some interactive questions that the reader can respond to and apply to their own life. And so I'll also have a companion 40-day journal that they can also use. And again, it's to, there's stuff coming against us all the time, in every area of our life. We get a lot of negative messaging and stuff like that. And and I want to be able to put something, and get them thinking about the positive and the things that they do want, and how they want their life to go. And you don't have to, again, have a life threatening illness. You don't. I mean, it's better to do
Right.
this than you don't, right? So you're living fully, and the people that know you and love you are getting the best of you, right? And you're
Mhm.
building that legacy intentionally that you really want to leave, with those people. And so, when I was in the hospital this last week, I went in and I had to have an X-ray, and I got wheeled in, and I could tell the tech, a younger gal, probably about 25, 26. I could tell her countenance was cold, and she greeted me in less than a warm way,
Mm.
and immediately that impacted me, and it made me want to be cold back. That was my reaction: be cold back. And hey, this is just a transaction, get through it. But then I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to react. I'm going to respond, right? So there's a difference between a reaction and a response. And so my response was to be there and be myself, and take an interest in them and what they were doing, because they were doing something on me. So I talked to her, and then also the other person doing it. And so they, as we were talking, they were asking me about my health journey, and I shared with them, all of it. And so they had mentioned that, man, you know what? We've had a really hard day today, and you were the right person to come in to end our day. And they
Wow.
thanked me, right? And so then I got to spend a little more time with her as I was waiting to be wheeled back to my room. And she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, for 20 years, I was a pastor." She goes, "I knew it. I felt that. I could see that." And I said, "Well, and currently I run a real estate company, but I'm transitioning out of that, and I'm launching this ministry called Unyielding Hope." And I told her about it, And when we was all said and done, she said, "I needed this today." And I think everybody needs that. I think
Yeah.
everybody has a hard day. It doesn't make them bad people. It just sometimes it puts them in a bad disposition. But we don't have to react to that. We can respond in a way that's consistent with who we are and bring hope, even in a situation like that. And I thank them for giving their life to something so important that would help people like me, and
Yeah.
how much that meant to me. And so, even in that, we can be hope givers.
Yeah. Well said. So good. So where can people go to find you and Unyielding Hope Ministry, Terry?
Yeah. So it's unyieldinghope.net. So
Okay.
it's a website. We just launched the website. There's quite a bit of information on there. There'll be more coming. But that's where they can go. If they're interested in helping us generate the funds to launch, there's a place on there where they can give. Um, so yeah, there's a place on there on the front page, a couple of places where you can actually give if you want to. We are looking for people that resonate with our message, then want to be a part of helping us launch this. We're looking at not just starting a ministry, but we want to start a movement, a hope movement
Mm.
for people. That's really what we want to do. So we have an online store where people can buy merchandise, again, just to represent the message and create an opportunity for conversation. So we're super, super excited about that.
Okay. And then I'll drop the link, of course, in the description, just to make it easy for people to click on. Is that where they be able to find your book there as well? Is it
Not
available for pre-order or
not yet. I
not yet?
probably
Okay.
should do it
Coming
on
soon.
there for pre-order. I haven't even thought of that. I probably should, but it's not done yet. It's not there yet, but it will be. hopefully by the first or second week in November is what I'm
Okay.
hoping. So
Very good. So if somebody's watching this after the first or second week of November of 2025, go check out that website if you want to find the book, and it'll be there because
yeah,
this video will be on YouTube for a long time. So
yeah, and
okay, Terry. Yeah.
people can go on there and subscribe, and then we'll be able to send them messages about, hey, what are the updates, what are we doing, hey, the book just came out, all that kind of stuff, so
Yeah.
they can actually subscribe on there as well.
I should have asked you this earlier before we hit the record button. And yet, these videos that I've seen on your Facebook page are incredible. Are you launching a podcast channel as well?
Yeah, we will. Not right now. We're trying to get everything else off the ground, but we will.
Okay.
Making a list of our
Yeah.
podcast guests. You'll probably be one of our guests, Chris.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
Let's
we'll be
go.
launching a podcast. We want to bring stories of hope. We want to
Yeah.
share people's stories and journeys and pull out the practical steps that they did to get where they're at. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, so we'll be doing that.
Yeah, that's good. There's one of my favorite books is Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah.
Is that I think Viktor Frankl is how you say his name?
Yep.
And it's a story of hope where this
Yeah.
guy was in a concentration camp where it's hard to imagine life being any worse than being in the Holocaust concentration camp, being starved and everything he and so many others went through. And yet, just in his imagination, from what I remember, he was able to imagine getting back to family, getting back to serving people in his community. And he
Yeah.
was able to stay somewhat positive and optimistic. He had a hope.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing whether it's something that we're going through with our health or in our business or in a relationship or maybe in a financial low spot or somebody that went through one of the worst times in human history, having hope. I've looked at my cup when I got a drink. I have two cups like this. One's a triathlon cup and this one a cup. And this one, I didn't even realize it, but it says the word hope on it. So that
Yeah.
seems appropriate. I'm glad I chose this one.
Yeah.
Didn't do that on purpose. And yet, I think all of us could, especially with everything going on in the world in today's culture, I think all of us could use an extra dose or two of hope.
Mhm.
And I appreciate you, Terry.
Yeah, that's true. We all can. I mean, I need
Yeah,
hope. I need to hear
100%.
stories of hope. I
Yeah.
want to meet people. It's amazing. It's interesting. I'll see somebody, and just over the weekend, I saw somebody, post something and said they were a 23-year survivor of breast cancer. Well, that gives me hope when people share
Mhm.
that, and I meet people and they say, "Yeah, I was diagnosed so many years ago, and I'm still here." It's like that. That gives me hope. And there are
Yeah.
other stories out there where people have faced things, they've overcome things, and these stories need to be shared. We need to share these with one another because they're hope builders inside of
Yeah.
other people.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to point people to your website if they would
Yep.
like to partner with the launch and the funding side of the ministry. And
Yep.
also if they'd like to order some t-shirts. I've seen some of those on your Facebook page. They're clean, they look really good. So now we know where to find those.
Yep.
Anything else that you'd like to share with the audience out there before we call this one a wrap?
Yeah. I would say, hey, if you know somebody that could use a dose of hope, reach out to us. Reach out to me. If you know somebody that has a really hope inspired story, let us know.
Mm.
This is something that we're going to be, really looking for because there's a lot of them that are out there, and we want to be able to share those in order to let other people, hear those stories and be inspired by those. The way that I've been inspired by Dan, the way I've been inspired by Dave, and other people that I know.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Well, Terry, you're a generous man. Thank you so much. And keep on keeping
Yeah,
on, my friend.
yeah. Thank you. Thanks for letting me be on here. This is great, Chris, and you'll be on our podcast.
Deal. I look forward to it.
All right, my friend.